breath is life. It certainly seems a very obvious statement to make. So why, you might ask, would I devote a chapter to something as basic as breathing? The normal act of breathing is something we do not even have to consciously be aware of. Our brain automatically tells us to keep breathing in oxygen and breathing out carbon dioxide. And this life-sustaining action continuously occurs from the day we are born until the day we leave this world. However, over millions of years of evolution, the human body has developed the efficiency to function extremely well during normal everyday activities, using the least amount of oxygen possible to sustain us. This is simply the usual progression of any life form to operate at its most effective and optimum level. This then is the base from where we begin to build our body's fitness and ability to progress on from where we would consider normal, and we do this by exercising our body's muscles and tissues in a manner which forces them to a higher level of development. However, the item that we require the most to accomplish this is oxygen. And how is it that we obtain this oxygen? Well, of course, the answer is no surprise. It is by breathing. I will take just a few moments to explain what happens to the oxygen when we breathe in. It is freely floating about in all the air we breathe, and is drawn down into our lungs every time we draw a breath. Our lungs, which we can liken to two large sponges, are filled with many blood vessels of various sizes. And in an almost miraculous continuous event, the oxygen in the air is directed eventually to little tiny air sacs called alveoli. And when the description of little and tiny are used to indicate just how small these sacs are, let me say that we are talking about there being something like 700 million of them in our lungs. Finally, through a process which is called diffusion, the oxygen passes through the tissue and through the walls of the tiniest of the blood capillaries, which are entwined around the alveoli sacs, and becomes the oxygen in our blood, as it is pumped throughout our body to every cell to nurture and sustain us. As we exercise, our body grows stronger and fitter. We need to supply it with adequate amounts of oxygen for this growth, and this is one of the main reasons why I have brought the subject of breathing up. It is so very important that we exercise to maintain and indeed increase our well-being, and breathing is the key to our success. Every opportunity we have, we should take a moment to breathe more deeply for a few minutes. We can do this very worthwhile activity anywhere and any time. No one will even notice us. Another very important aspect of breathing is the rate of our breathing and the quantity of oxygen we obtain from that rate. For one example, it is very closely aligned with our level of stress and tension. We will already be familiar with this, as when we are agitated or anxious, our heart rate increases, making greater demands on the blood supply being pumped around our body. At the same time, because of our distress, our breathing becomes dramatically more shallow. Unfortunately, this is not accompanied by an equally dramatic increase in oxygen, so our body does not receive enough to compensate for the additional demand. So once again, we need to take stronger, steady breaths to compensate. Again, as you are now becoming more aware, breathing is the key. If we are trying to relax or gain a calm state of mind and body, which may be simply resting or perhaps meditating, it is necessary to once again be conscious of our breathing. The body has certain natural levels of breathing which it has become accustomed to, depending on what we are doing. For example, if we are sleeping, this brings about a certain rhythm of breathing which is different to that which we experience when we are simply at rest, and very different to when we are active and exercising our body. The significance of this fact is that if we can remain calm and at peace, our breathing remains at a steady, rhythmic pace and allows our mind and our body to, in a sense, have a good break from always working so hard to keep us well, both physically and mentally, and I will add spiritually. So again, I will ask you to be more conscious and aware of your body's need for breathing. It is definitely worth your while to remember and practice the use and control of your breathing. Be aware of the changing circumstances you experience daily, and remember your breath is a very, very important way to help you to have control over your responses to the many changing circumstances which inevitably occur every day of your lives.